All right, let's review this fucking bullshit
I'm
penguin
not
show.
bringing it up.
No, I'm not either. This is going to be a very short episode. I
To
suspect.
even go through it in any chronological order would be.
Yeah.
This is yeah. I never thought that I could hate anything involving penguins and space. But here we are, folks. Welcome to Laser Comb number 57, the podcast where two 90s kids comb through classic television with a fine-tooth laser. I am one of your hosts, NeoCal.
And I am the man who still has a bullshit haircut, Christopher Siege. And calling this show classic might be a reach. Uh-huh.
I'm like, wow, penguins? Space? There's no way I could dislike this.
Penguins
Coming
are,
from an adult who reviews children's cartoons.
which this most definitely is. We're continuing on with our theme of Patreon sponsored shows, as we're going to be doing for probably another couple months yet. But this week we are talking about some episode, I don't even remember what episode number it is, but some episode of 321 Penguins, as chosen by our longtime patron, Bemused Horseman. And I gotta say, right off the top, I'm sorry, dude. I, 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 I don't like this.
Bemused Horseman. Now, I don't have a problem with like Christian rock, like Christian TV shows, like that kind of thing. I don't find them like terribly offensive, but this is
Can you
absolutely.
take me
Can you
higher
take me higher?
to a place with
Where to a place
golden
where
streets?
blind men see. As somebody who
Can
listens
you
to
take me higher?
as somebody who liked Titan AE, and as somebody who liked and listened to Creed, I can tell you this is kind of bad.
Yeah, this
um,
is like some kind of spin-off or something of VeggieTales, or it's made by the same people. It has some connection to VeggieTales. I don't know what it is. I didn't look too far into it because I fucking hate VeggieTales. My mom would like force my younger siblings to watch VeggieTales while they were growing up. So my mom is one of those like religious people who isn't actually like super into Christianity, but uses it as a shield for like all of her like shitty views on things, basically to justify like being homophobic and like slightly racist and shit like that.
it's kind of all
Listeners,
like
I don't like my mom. I'm just putting that out into the
kind of
world.
like the oh well, like the Bible says that like homosexuality is a sin. What page? Oh, you don't know? You just know that common rhetoric? Well, then why? Also, I know tons of religious people who don't take every single thing in their faith as gospel.
Pun
Like, I have a
intended.
gay Mormon friend.
That's weird.
A little. We can't all live in sin. We try, but we can't all. And
All right, as long as I pray afterwards.
it's okay as long as you
I'm already on my knees down here anyway.
get two birds stoned with one. Tried to do a Rickyism there. So basically, 321's Penguins is a Christian animated show that with incomplete assets bought from like Photo Bucket, like taken from Photo Bucket, or like the free assets from like Epic or something like
Yeah,
that.
what year is this episode from? Because the animation in this show is astoundingly bad.
It's not necessarily the animation that bothers me, it's the textures. Like they'll go out into a hallway with no texture. It's just a blank like yellow color. They didn't fill in the room. There's lots of rooms on the spaceship that have like a bed and then 40 feet across the room like a single dresser and nothing else. You
Yeah,
know what I
this
mean?
I
It feels like a fan made 3D project
yeah,
that's incomplete.
so this episode, The Green-Eyed Monster, is the one that we watched. It
Yeah.
originally aired on October 20th, 2007. So this show was made on a budget because this show looks like it's from like 1997.
Well,
Like
it's
this is
like I
on
said,
par
it's
with
the
like
asset thing.
this is on par with like the 1997 Donkey Kong cartoon in terms of like how it looks.
I, oh, I would not insult the donkey
Actually, no,
1997 Donkey Kong.
I think the Donkey Kong cartoon looks better than this.
It does way better, and it's animated weird. Like we're gonna cover that one day.
One day, yeah, mark my word.
Guarantee you. We talk about it all the time. But this, I'm fine with even kids shows. I was the oldest of three siblings and two cousins,
Right.
and I have like 15 years of watching like kids shows, right? But not only patrons, please, can you give us kids shows that are aimed at like 8 and above, not like 4 to 6? Right? Like
You
Barney,
know,
not
I,
really Barney.
you know,
Veggie
I
Tales.
I still remember being like 5, 6 years old fairly well. And I remember the things that I watched when I was 5 and 6 years old. I would have never fucking watched this show.
I'm sorry, I would have immediately clicked past this. I almost wonder if Bemused Horseman is just fucking trolling us
I
at
did
this
say,
point.
to be fair, I did say that this was a few months ago now, and he pitched us these shows back in October because our recording schedule got kind of wonky for a while
Yeah,
there
yeah.
because of uh, personal bullshit on my end. Um, but so to be fair, I had said I was like, I want listeners to really rake us over the coals and give us some like truly terrible shit.
Okay, so it's up to him.
Mission accomplished.
It's up to Bemused Horseman to tell us whether he genuinely liked this. Otherwise, we're just going to assume that he dug at the bottom of the barrel for this one. And here's the thing: 4 or 5 years old, if you did like this, that's or 6 or whenever, that's fine. And we were watching it, and Siege hadn't watched it yet, and he's like, "What like Christian?" He made a joke about like doing your prayers at the end. And did you watch the whole thing? Because I was like, I'm a legitimate journalism, damn it. I'm watching it from beginning to end.
I did, yeah.
And I shit you not, like 10 minutes after Siege made the joke, before he even watched it, he made a joke about like the kids praying or something
I
like
think I
that.
made a joke about uh I can't remember. I said something along the lines of like it would be hilarious if the way they solve the problem in this episode is just by praying.
And at the
In
very
a
end of
way,
the episode,
kinda.
there's a make sure that you brush your teeth and do your prayers before you go to bed. And it's not just an implication. There's like a minute or 2 minute scene at the very end where they pray and they say what they're thankful for. And again, I actually have no problem with that. The show being really freaking bad and condescending to what children, I feel offended on behalf of a 5-year-old watching it, because like kids are smart enough, right? And let me go over some of the things that are bothersome. The Zap Brannigan here, the idiot but charismatic leader who's
I know
actually a
that
coward and stupid.
I
Like
know
so
that
many jokes.
I immediately as soon as he started talking, I'm like, this guy is a cliche.
That and the thing is, the jokes aren't good. He like shows up and he's like, "All right, get to work, men. I'm going to be busy doing captain things." And he like turns in his chair and like starts looking at a mirror and like fixing his hair. That's the closest thing to something being funny in in the episode. And to give it the old maximal try, this is what the episode's about. A monster appears because There's two siblings that are on the spaceship with these space penguins for some reason.
But also
And
sometimes they're in their bedrooms,
but
so
sometimes they're also in their bedrooms back on Earth.
is this their imagination? Are they dreaming?
It doesn't, just from this episode, I don't know if they're dreaming or it's their imagination, or like they're literally kidnapped every day by these like penguins or beamed back and forth.
There's this dumb subplot in the episode involving the and it ties into the main antagonist of the show,
What is
or
the
this episode.
main antagonist?
The green-eyed monster. Can you
Which
be
only
more fucking
manifests.
can you be more fucking on the nose than that? No, you can't. And it manifests because this annoying little girl, who is like the main character of the show, is all jealous because like her brother's bedroom is like 1 meter or something like that bigger than hers. It's like such
Her
a
brother's bedroom is 50 square feet, and her bedroom is 49.9 square feet.
right. Yeah, I knew it was like a stupidly like small amount.
Yeah,
And immediately I'm just like, shut up, child.
right? As a kid who had to like share a really small room and like a mattress with a sibling, and I mean like a mattress on the ground, not even like a bed frame. Like as a poor fucking kid.
Was there at least a box spring?
God no.
No. Okay.
Just the mattress on the ground,
I was
bro.
gonna say because I currently have a box spring and mattress just on the floor because I'm like, who cares? I don't need a bed
Mr.
spring.
Fancy Box Spring over here. Uh,
It's all that Patreon money that I'm making.
the idea, yeah, the idea that a sibling would have a gigantic room, and is this rich kid privilege? I I cannot relate. I have never
Yeah,
ever
also, yeah, 50
related
square feet.
to,
That's pretty big for a bedroom.
well, when you look at like the rooms and compared to their sizing, you could play a full tennis match inside of these. They have to walk 20 feet to reach their dresser from their bed. Like I said, that they didn't have enough free assets, and like their bedroom's full of like a bed 20 feet away against the wall, like a dresser, and like maybe a toy lying on the ground like somewhere. It's the scaling is odd. Um and yeah, she's like jealous about of her brother, like for some reason. And at some point
Maybe
she's
having
sitting at
a
a bar talking to a bartender.
maybe
I,
having a big like a huge room with like a handful of like objects in the background that are blurred with like depth of field. Maybe that takes like less system resources than like rendering a small room with objects close together. I don't know. I don't know much
there's
about
no
animation,
blurring
but
with depth of field. Oh, well, you're asking a lot from these.
oh yeah, there's a bartender who is voiced by our man himself, Gary Chalk.
And he tries to give the child some advice, which she promptly ignores.
This show apparently aired on a network called Cubo, which I've never even fucking heard of. Oh, was. It's not even around anymore. Was an American television network for children between the ages of 5 and 14. This is definitely closer to the 5 side of things.
Yeah. And again, there's nothing wrong with like lessons about envy, right? There's nothing wrong with like the prayers at the end. It's just, it's very low effort, and the writing, it shows in the writing.
Praying
Like
at the end. Who
I
does she think she
very
is? Hulk Hogan? Train hard, say your prayers, eat your vitamins, brother.
if it went hard on that, it would have been so much better. So what do the penguins do? They get told by
You know,
command.
there's a Hulk Hogan cartoon in the 80s. We should review that at some point.
I did not know that.
I've never actually seen it. I think it was called like Hulk Hogan's like Rockin' Wrestling or something like that.
Sounds great.
Probably better than
But
this.
what's the gist of it is they need to go to a planet full of sheep, and
Them damn sheeple.
they need to wake up, sheeple. There's an actual part that's basically like wake up, sheeple. But basically there are pink sheep and there are blue sheep, and they both want what the other side has. And the entire little planet, it's tiny, like you can walk around the planet like in like 30 seconds, they both want what the other has. And so the dumb one, oh, right, the archetypes. There's three penguins. There's the scientist nerd penguin, and there's the stupid captain penguin. And then there's the I don't know, I'm an idiot penguin.
Oh well, there's the pilot who has like an Australian accent.
Oh, right, there's four penguins, right?
I actually he was the only thing in the show that I actually kind of liked.
There's some redeeming things with the penguins. The
And
children don't redeem anything.
honestly, that just could be my affinity for Australian accents. I was like, oh, I don't mind listening to this guy.
But the gist of it is, the captain's like, oh, geez, oh, I don't know how to solve this problem, and they're summoned to court. There's like a judge sheep
Yeah.
who's like, bah, as your ambassadors, and I'm like, oh, I actually like the way the sheep talk. They talk like this.
I'm glad you liked it because I rolled my eyes. My eyes like rolled out, rolled so far that
rolled
they
so
fell
far in the back of your head you became the Undertaker.
That I fell over and they rolled across the floor like all the way to the other side of my bedroom.
And then the deer head on the wall turned and went dead before dawn.
Yeah, pretty much.
So one of the kids is like, well, why don't you just switch sides to see if the grass is truly greener on the other side? And the sheep are all like, damn, that's a good idea. We couldn't have thought about that ourselves. And then they switch sides. And then after like 30 seconds or so, they're unhappy again. And I'm like, these sheep are not smart enough to govern themselves.
Very like beat you over the head, like blatantly obvious, like life lesson for little kids.
Yeah, they're sentient, and like they're smart enough to have language and apparently a courthouse. They're the only building on the planet, by the way, which is a little odd.
That says a lot about their society, which is the fact that the only building that they have is a courthouse.
There's a fence and a courthouse, and indeed the fence goes into the courthouse / church.
How insane is their judicial system?
Right. Anyways, there's a monster.
I would love it if like a fucking like sheep just showed up like dressed like a mega city judge and it's just like, bah, I am the law.
I was hoping you would. I am the law. There's only like 15 sheep on this fucking planet.
20 years in an ISO cube for you.
Man, that already is an infinitely better show than 3-2-1 Penguins. Anyways,
fuck, I wish there was some kind of Judge
there's
Dredd
a monster
TV.
on the planet.
I wish there was a Judge Dredd TV show that exists because I would love to review it on here. You know what?
There's not.
We should do a commentary track for the Stallone Judge Dredd movie for Patreon.
It's been a while since I've seen OG Judge Dredd.
It's not great, but it's not a good movie, but it's a lot of fun. I don't really
remember it.
It's a lot of fun.
What's the one that's like a game show or something with is it The Running Man with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yep, The Running Man. That's based on a Stephen King novel. Believe it or not.
Yeah, right. That one might be fun too. Or Smash TV, or I can't remember. They both feel the same to me.
Well, Smash TV was a game on Dreamcast. And
was it ever a movie?
I don't think so. And The Running Man was the Schwarzenegger movie. I haven't seen it since I was a teenager.
There was not a Smash TV movie. You know what? I bet I was playing Smash TV and it felt like Running Man felt like Smash TV when I had watched it at the time.
You were watching The Running Man while like one of your siblings was playing Smash TV on Dreamcast in the same room.
And I was like basically the same thing.
Yep. Just like this is basically just the same thing as Madagascar meets 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah, that's what this
That's
is.
what this
And
is,
you can
right?
tell it's trying to be Madagascar-ish with its like a penguin dynamic, one being like the dumb captain and
I've never actually seen Madagascar. I literally just like pulled like the two like movie titles like off the top of my head. I'm like okay. I'm like okay. CGI cartoon movie, kids movie, and sci-fi film, and those were just the first two
the
things that
first
popped out.
two that you could literally take anything with penguins and literally any sci-fi movie or TV
Oh yeah,
show,
there when we
and it
worked at
would end up better than
Blockbuster,
this.
there was a direct to DVD spin-off called Penguins of Madagascar. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah. Yeah, there were a few direct to DVD spin-offs.
It's funny because like I spent about from like 2005 to 2010 working at video stores constantly, so I'm basically aware of like every single thing that came out in that time period.
It that
It just in that time period. But like
or
I
I
could
can be reminded of it. Yeah, if somebody's like, "Hey, blah 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 this." I'm like, "I never watched it, but I
yeah,
walked past it on the shelf enough times that I'm aware it exists."
I never watched it, but goddamn, do I can I picture that DVD cover in my head?
Right?
The
Yeah,
joys of working at a video store.
it's kind of like being uh painfully aware that the Scooby-Doo brand like never died out ever. Like every
No.
year, like just half a dozen or more like Scooby-Doo like volumes and movies like coming out all the time, just churning them out. And it's like, whoa, I didn't realize that was such a big. Do you, Scooby-Doo?
I was never into Scooby-Doo, but have you seen the
I
outrage
think there was.
recently over that new like Velma show that was created by what's her name? Mindy Kaling?
Yeah.
I think that's her name.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there was outrage before it came out, and there was more outrage after.
Yeah.
The
Here,
difference is it was mostly right-wing outrage
right.
or
Before,
unaffiliated outrage at before it was coming out because they're making all my characters dark. But after it came out, there's a lot
after
of
it,
valid criticism.
after it came out, there was a as far as I'm aware, the show got like really shit reviews. And to be fair, I've never seen it. I might actually check it out, even though I don't. And this is going to tie into my point. Um, I might actually check it out because I'm not into Scooby Doo, but what I've heard about this show actually has me intrigued because it's so just not Scooby Doo at all. And so what I'm wondering is why didn't she just make an original show? Like
That
why
is
use
one
these
of the
characters?
that has
If they're
been
nothing like at all like if it's
that's
nothing
what
at all
everyone's saying.
like the established yeah characters in this property, like just make a new show.
We should check it out just to like dunk on it or give our own 2 cents about it and
I'm
stuff.
sure it's going to be canceled after one season, so we if it gets canceled, we should like review it like immediately.
Yeah. Well, 321 Penguins is getting canceled by us right now on air. Um, I I don't even want to sum up what the episode is about. This sheep, a lesson is learned. Don't envy what other people had and be grateful for what you have. Except it's shoestring, like it's shoehorned. It's shoehorned right at the end. Like the girl's like, "Oh, I get it. I should be happy with what I have and not envy what others have." But nothing led her to this conclusion. She just
I
got
know,
it.
yeah, yeah, and
That
like
bothered me. If you're gonna do show an educational or moral children's show, like make it make sense. She just like in the middle of seeing her room getting eaten by this little green-eyed monster creature, she's just like, no, I like my room and my things. I don't want to move and switch rooms with my brother. But she's just using it because she knows it would make the monster disappear. And indeed, it starts shrinking and then goes poof and like disappears. Here's the thing: if there was no monster, no, it feels like she's being forced to fight the monster and being forced to learn this lesson, she doesn't truly learn it herself.
Right.
And one of the penguins says something profound to the kid. It's not the kid figuring it out. It says,
She learns the lesson because the plot calls for it.
because, yeah. But one of the penguins is like, that's right. Envying what others have is kind of like a monster eating you from the inside out. You only hurt yourself by envying what others have. And I'm like, that that is a good lesson. But the penguin says that after the girl defeats her envy.
Here's the thing that I hate in children's television. I hate it when the moral like life lesson, like most children's entertainment, like even going back to the stuff we watched when we were kids, had like little like moral
Yeah, of course.
lessons inserted into them. I hate it when it's really on fucking on the nose. When it's just so like go back and watch like GI Joe cartoons from the 80s or like Transformers cartoons or like just go watch like any pretty much any episodes of Power Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Like there's less like there's moral lessons that
There's
are inserted.
always moral lessons being in there. Like don't take what you have for granted.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
treat your friends badly, right? Don't
But
litter, like everything.
but when the enemy of the episode is literally a green-eyed monster. That's that's just too on the nose for me. That just annoys me. That to me that feels like
Disingenuous.
to me it feels like whoever made this show thinks the kids are fucking dumb.
And that's the thing. We've talked about this with guests on our other show, Too Much Energon. We've talked about it here on Laser Comb too. Kids don't need being spoken down to.
When I was the age that this show
They're emotionally more intelligent than people give them credit for.
I was watching Star Trek The Next Generation at 5 years old and understanding it.
And there's another show that has very, very moralistic plot
Yeah, absolutely.
designs.
By design, Star Trek has always been that
Yeah.
way.
And as a kid, you were never like, gee, that's weird. There was no monsters in that episode. Dur, dur, and like ran off and smacked your head into a door and like immediately grabbed a gun and like pretended it was a phaser. And like
Right?
it
Wait,
talks about violence, consent, sexuality, um, personal space, laws versus culture all the time. Kids understand it.
I've always said that I think I got most of my moral code from Star Trek.
That's not a
Star Trek and MASH, honestly. I know
oh,
you've like
that there
laughed
you
about
go.
the fact that that I like MASH. I've liked MASH since I was a little kid.
I know
Um,
inside of you is a 60-year-old man that loves MASH.
no, I've actually been rewatching like some of my favorite episodes because it's on Disney Plus in Canada.
Mm.
And I've talked before about this, but like recently, like I rewatched through, shows that I liked when I was younger, like The Shield and 24, and I'm like, wow, I never picked up on this, but these shows are really fucking conservative in their ideas. MASH, very liberal. That is a very left leaning show. Uh, and much like with the Shield and 24, like I didn't pick up on that when I was watching it when I was younger. Same with MASH. I didn't realize when I was younger just how really progressive that show is, which is astounding for a show that's like 50 years old.
Yeah, for young me, um, it was just boring. Maybe it was too the jokes I didn't understand.
The writing in that show is pretty clever. Like even me watching it at like 38 now, I'm like, yeah, the writing the dialogue's pretty witty. And
I
like
wasn't smart enough to watch it as a kid.
even and the two characters in the early seasons, like Frank Burns and Major Houlihan, who are the butt of like the jokes in every single episode they're in, are the proud Republicans in the camp. They even like,
Right.
yeah. So that show is that's a very liberal show, and like even like some things with it where it's like not everything has like some like terminology or like some not everything has like aged perfectly, but you can tell that their heart was in the right place. when they were trying to tackle like progressive issues on the show.
Yeah, like we always say, like intent matters,
Yeah.
right? And I don't know what your intent, bemused horseman. I don't know what your intent was. Calling it malicious. You're a monster. And then we brushed our teeth and did our prayers.
And trained hard and
Took our vitamins.
said our vitamins and
Said our vitamins.
So well,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, here I guess we do a thing where we on the Lasercomb podcast where we're like, "Hey, you just caught an random episode of Space Penguins Are Us." Siege, would you tune in next week?
I would 100% not. I would not.
I would not. Not only would I tune in next week, if I had a magic lamp, I would undo the time I spent watching 321 Penguins. It was you guys just landed on a bad episode. That's
Yeah, I don't think I don't think that that excuse is gonna fly with this one.
You don't think so?
No.
Hmm.
I think the show is just bad. I don't think it would matter what episode
The
we
show's
ended up
bad and
talking
you
about.
should feel bad.
um yeah,
Well,
no,
hopefully it brought some children joy out there. It must have if it made a second season, right? Right?
yeah, I guess. I mean, it must have made money if they
Right.
made like I think 3 seasons of it. I can't imagine why it made money, but it must have.
Must have.
Or maybe this was just some passion project of some like wealthy. Maybe this was like a tax like loophole from like some corrupt like churchy corporate rich douchebag.
Right, like by funneling money into educational media. They
Yeah.
yeah, that has got to be it.
You know what? I was joking when I said that, but that actually kind of makes sense.
There's oh man, I was reading a Reddit thread. Oh, by the way, I agree with you. I am not tuning in ever. But I was
Right.
reading a Reddit uh, thread about like fraud and embezzlement, and something like billions and billions of dollars is laundered and embezzled and moved to offshore accounts and that kind of thing. Like in the US, like almost more than like any other country. It's in like the top 5 countries for like embezzlement and stuff. So
Right.
this feels like a church funneling money in, and then the animation studio being nonprofit and then just taking the money back, and they pay their nonprofit um director like a mysteriously high amount of money,
Yeah.
aka it's the pastor that produced the televangelist that produced the show.
Yeah, you know what? It doesn't even matter if it's true or not. I'm just gonna choose to believe that that's
I
the
want to believe.
that's why. That's what this show is all about.
Yeah, it makes so
Uh,
much more sense now.
anyway, that was episode 57 of the Lasercomb Podcast. Best way to support the show and to pick a show for us to review a random episode of, much like Bemused Horseman did this week, go to patreon.com/lazorcomb, LAZORCOMB. For $5 a month, you get to do that. You also get commentary tracks periodically, and our brand new Patreon only show, the Super Lasercomb Patreon Super Show. It's a new weekly podcast, but probably be about an hour long or so each week. New weekly podcast where we kind of talk about random shit, whatever we want to talk about on any given week, and we talk about some news stories that caught our attention. And it's also an evolving concept as a show, so reach out to us if you're a patron. Reach out to us, give us suggestions on what you'd like to see in the Super Lasercomb Patreon Super Show.
Didn't even talk about Elon. this week?
No, we didn't.
Shocked.
I raged against I
The
raged
machine?
against the machine.
Yeah,
I
kind of.
quite I kind of did, yeah. I raged against the machine, and we talked about some news stories, including a fairly local story about a carrier pigeon with a tiny little backpack carrying crystal meth to prison.
That
So,
feels like a story that's weird enough that it can't be made up.
right? And I mean, like training a pigeon to literally be a carrier pigeon is definitely a thing a meth head would do.
Absolutely. And you know what else a meth head would do?
uh,
Watch 321 penguins while they're high. Calling
yeah.
you out, 321 penguins fans.
Anyway, so if you want to get in on all of that, go to patreon.com/lasercomb. Follow me on Twitter. I am at lasercomb, spelled the same way. Or you can follow Cal at.
Oh, I sneezed. You can follow me at Twitter as well at NeoCal, NEO_KAL, or TikTok as
Oh,
well.
that's right.
Oh, that's right.
You can also follow me on Instagram at Christopher Siege. All
That's
one word.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll be back next week with another Patreon pick. This time by longtime Patreon subscriber Game Sprite Mode, who sent me a Christmas card in the mail recently. Which, since next week is going to be their episode, I will show it on camera and talk
Hmm.
about it on air more there. They sent you one as well, Cal, but it is sitting on my desk
We
unopened.
we are not adjacent to each other uh recently.
I should just put a new label on it and just mail it to you. Which I might do like in the next couple of weeks here.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not
Oh,
adjacent.
actually no, you know what? I'm going to Victoria in
Oh yeah.
February. Yeah. So and I imagine we're going to be hanging out at some point while I'm there.
Yeah.
So I'll just bring it along.
Yeah.
The show that Game Sprite Mode pitched to us was a show called D Gotta Defenders. Die Gotta Defenders?
Daigata Defenders.
In Die Gotta Defenders,
And I
honey.
gotta defend honey.
Bam, 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 bam. I might put that song at the end of next week's episode.
Right. The gotta defenders.
uh,
Right. I briefly Googled it like
co-
last time and I was like, hey, this looks I'm
country
just
of
putting it out there. And if I'm wrong, I'll give you a free alphanumeric shirt. There's no way this is not better than 321 penguins.
country of origin, Canada and Luxembourg.
Oh.
Interesting.
Yeah.
uh, yeah. So, Die Gotta Defenders. I don't know if it's Die or D, but
We'll have to
whatever.
watch the episode.
We'll have to watch the
Find
episode and
out.
find out. Die Gotta Defenders is an animated series. Follows the travels and adventures of six teenagers, part of an organization called the Daigata Defenders. Their mission as heroes is to defend Rados against evil factions. Oh, I mean, sounds that sounds interesting. At least I guess.
Sounds legit.
Yeah.
You got
Oh,
magic dice or
all right. So to figure out what episode we're gonna watch, I'm not even gonna bother hitting screen share because Zoom crash has been crashing lately every time I do that.
fucking Zoom, man.
Zoom, zoom, zoom. So it had
It
52 episodes. So one random number between 1 and 52. And here we go. 31.
31.
31. All right, episodes. Episode 31
Excuse
is.
me, princess. This looks like it's following from the fame of Airbender.
Episode 31 is The Magnificent Two. The defenders seek to recover the Nova Stone, leaving Eric to train Rion while Seth and Melosa search. Kid Cole takes over a mine to make a set of unbreakable armor, and a new guardian, Dark Viper, one of Sai's mutant guardians, and a twisted version of Anaconduit. Anaconduit. Eric and
Amazing.
Ryan respond to the distress call with Brachus's help. as okay, that's just getting into spoiler territory now.
Spoiler territory.
Oh well, no,
For a
it's
show
just,
we'll definitely watch from beginning to end.
no, it's just that synopsis is just covering. That's a
Oh, it's
summary of the
just-
entire episode.
Yeah,
I don't necessarily want to know how it ends.
that's true. We want some excitement in our life. Not every
Well-
day can be 3, 2, 1.
Well, the name of the episode is The Magnificent Two, which is a reference to The Magnificent Seven, which is a movie I really like, which is also a remake of The Seven Samurai, which is also a movie I really like.
See, I've seen. Wait, I have seen both of those. Wait, yeah, I have.
That new Magnificent Seven, that remake that came out in like 2017 or so, is not very good. But that original one from, what is it, 1965, I think, something
See,
like that.
I have not actually seen that.
The remake or
Maybe
the
I should.
original?
The OG.
Oh, the original Magnificent Seven's great. That new one isn't, but that original one's great. Hell, I own it on Blu-ray.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I like the
The
movie a lot.
Magnificent 2.
The Magnificent Too Much Energon. Wait, wrong podcast.
Whoops.
Anyway, we'll be back next week with that. And until then, I've been The Siege, one of your hosts.
And I'm NeoCal.
And until next time, we will American Gladiator with you next week.
We'll penguin you later, paisanos.
Bye-bye.
Well, that's our story from Gladiator Arena, Los Angeles, California. For Larry Zonka, I'm Mike Adamley. See you again next week for more exciting semifinal action.